Okay, so what I want to do is factor 6x squared minus 13x plus 5 into two binomial factors so that then I can use the zero product property to solve each of these individually for x. I can use that method then to figure out the two values that x can be to make this equation equal to 0. So to factor this, I'm going to use my favorite method, the box and diamond method. So I'm going to set up my box here, and I want to figure out what these two binomials have to be so that when I multiply the two firsts together, I get 6x squared. When I multiply the two lasts together, I get 5. And the two inside terms multiplied together plus the two outside terms multiplied together have to add up to negative 13x. So I'm really looking for two values that when I add them together, I get negative 13x. And when I multiply them together, I get whatever 6x squared times 5 is, 30x squared. So those two values are going to be negative 10x and negative 3x. Because when I add those two terms together, I get negative 13x, and when I multiply them together, I get 30x squared. Negative 10x, negative 3x. Now what I'm going to do is figure out what two binomials I can multiply together, first, outside, inside, last, to get those four terms. And I'm going to do that basically by taking the greatest common factor of each row and each column. So the greatest common factor here is going to be 3x. Greatest common factor here is going to be negative 5. Since the first term is negative, I'm factoring out a negative. Here I get 2x as the greatest common factor. And here negative 1. Since the first term is negative, I'm factoring out a negative. So 3x minus 5 times 2x minus 1. When I multiply those together, I get 6x squared minus 3x minus 10x plus 5. And then combining like terms would give me the trinomial that I started out with. Now that I have my quadratic trinomial factored, I can use the zero product property, which basically tells me that if I'm multiplying two things together and I get 0 as a product, either the first one has to be 0, 0 times anything is 0, or the second one has to be 0, anything times 0 is 0. Either the first one has to be 0 in order for the product to be 0, or the second one has to be 0 in order for the product to be 0. Either one of those is true. My equation is going to work out to 0. So let's just solve each of these really quickly. Here, I end up with x equals 5/3. And here I end up with x equals 1/2. So the two solutions to this equation are x equals 5/3 and x equals 1/2.